Geek Out!
Hey, and welcome to another installment of Catching Up. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jake.
I'm Josh.
This week we're talking to Fred Van Lente. He, co-creator of Cowboys and Aliens. He wrote the incredible Hercules over at Marvel. He's wrapping up the Big Trouble in Little China comic for Boom Studios. Of course we talk about that. Of course I'm going to mention Big Trouble in Little China. He's here to promote his Dark Horse Comics miniseries, Weird Detective, which is out on Wednesday, June 15th, which is today. Hey, so yeah, go to your local comic book store.
How convenient.
Yes. It's almost like I planned it. But or Comixology, this is a good fun interview. We got to talk to him a bit at AwesomeCon and everything. So yeah, without much further ado, here's Fred Van Lente. And joining us this week, we've got comic book writer Fred Van Lente. He's here promoting his Dark Horse Comics series, Weird Detective, out in comic book shops and on Comixology on Wednesday, June 15th. Fred, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So it's pretty clear from this book that you're a big fan of detective fiction. You've got the main titular character, Sebastian, kind of poring over it in his free time.
Right.
But there's a lot of, at the same time, he's not your run-of-the-mill like Sam Spade. He's very much kind of a Lovecraftian figure as well. What made it that you wanted to combine these two seemingly disparate elements into this one story?
Well, like a lot of comics, this thing had a long gestation process, this project. Originally, it started out life. I should say I like alien characters, but I always worry that aliens are never terribly alien. Like, aliens tend to be sort of aloof and superior to us, sort of mentally and technologically and everything else.
Kind of like Mr. Spock.
Mr. Spock and, Superman. I wanted an alien character who had no idea what was going on, who was just like completely baffled by being a fish out of water. And this particular project actually started life as a Martian Manhunter Year One pitch.
Ooh.
And for those of you DC fans who are big Manhunter guys, the strip in the 50s when it was first created originally ran appropriately enough in Detective Comics, and John Johns was a police detective, an alien pretending to be a police detective and running around solving crimes. And the writers, whenever they found him in a spot, they just gave him a new superpower. So by the end of the 50s, John Johns has every superpower you basically can think of, except for maybe shooting lasers out of his eyes. I guess that would make him too much like Superman.
I think he's got that too, and he's definitely got like the Dalzim arms that he can stretch out.
The best one I found in the 50s was he's got supervision, which is never really explained, and I still don't understand what it is. Like, it's not like X-ray vision, and it's not like telescopic vision, and it's not heat vision, but it's just supervision. It's just super.
Yeah, at least he can't shoot little versions of himself out of his fingertips. Like
That's right. Well, I don't know. Maybe we just haven't found that story yet.
That's true, yeah. We're just waiting for that one story.
And so there's a lot of that in Weird Detective, in that we pitched this at DC, but it was about the time we didn't know that Grant Morrison was killing him off in Final Crisis, so they passed on that, and I was doing this with my buddy Jamal Eichel, who was drawing Supergirl at the time. And we were roommates, and we've been good friends for a long time. But when you come up with stuff, I really like the pitch, but I didn't want to sort of get rid of it. So what often happens, what's happened numerous times in recent comics history, is I just took all the DC stuff out of it and turned it into a creator-owned pitch. And Dark Horse really got excited about it. And it really kind of came together once I sort of hit upon the idea of merging the Law and Order tropes and the Shield and the Wire and all the cop shows I love with the cosmic horror of H.P. Lovecraft. A writer that I've loved since I was a kid, since I started playing the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game when I was a kid. And I totally coincidentally happened to live only a few blocks from where H.P. Lovecraft lived here in Brooklyn. I mean, he's mostly associated with New England and Providence, but he did briefly live here in New York City, specifically Brooklyn, and he actually got married here. And he wrote a story called The Horror at Red Hook.
Oh. I think he also is he the one that created the term Arkham or inspired Arkham?
Yeah. A lot of H.P. Lovecraft stories take place in a fictional town in Massachusetts called Arkham, and Arkham has an asylum. And so when Denny O'Neil decided to name the place they shipped the Joker and Penguin and Two-Face to, he sort of chose the name Arkham, and so now that's somewhat more famous as a Batman thing as opposed to a Lovecraft thing. But yeah, it's originally a Lovecraft thing. And so a lot of stuff in Weird Detective kind of comes from the horror at Red Hook, and we have a lot of fun because Lovecraft was sort of, I mean, there's really kind of no ways, two ways about this. Lovecraft was a notorious racist. His horror stories tend to involve finding non-whites and the weird monsters they worship, driving the white heroes insane. And so another thing I wanted to do with Weird Detective was take a lot of those Lovecraft tropes and completely turn them on the head. So we've got non-white characters, we have gay characters. The hero of the book is himself, spoilers, a kind of a Lovecraftian creature in his own right, and he's the good guy, and not this cosmic thing we can't understand. In fact, to getting back to what I said originally, he's an alien who is just terrified of us. Like, he's much more scared of us than we are of him, and he just finds this completely baffling,
But he loves the Rockford Files.
He loves the Rockford Files. He loves Jeremy Brett as Sherlock Holmes. He spends a lot of time on YouTube watching videos, and so he can improve what he thinks is his incredibly convincing disguise of being human. And if anyone questions him for being weird, he just says he's Canadian.
Works for me.
Yeah, say no more.
Which everyone's like, oh, of course. He's Canadian. It makes so much sense.
Was the conscious decision to kind of temper those unfortunate Lovecraft tendencies kind of the inspiration to create Sauna?
To a certain degree, yeah. I mean, Sauna, this neighborhood that I've lived in since 2001, and even dating back to when Lovecraft lives in the neighborhood, has been an Arab community for many years. And so Sana Fayez, who's Green's partner, is Jordanian American. And so she hails from this neighborhood also. So yeah, that was totally a spin on horror at Red Hook.
What?
Lovecraft's kind of weird
Yeah.
Eurocentrism and Anglophilia and being terrified by his neighbors.
What is it about this kind of like outsider archetype? Because you had kind of explored it with when you were doing Hercules over at Marvel. Of course,
Sure.
you co-created Cowboys and Aliens over for Platinum.
Right.
What is it about those? And I guess his name isn't Jake like it is in the film. It's Zeke in the book. But what is it about these kind of outsiders that you always find compelling?
That's a great question. I mean, I think it's something we all can relate to. I think that if you're a weird, nerdy kid growing up with your nose buried in books, you tend to feel like an outsider yourself. So I definitely have kind of grown up feeling that I'm sort of one step out of touch with pretty much every community I've been a member of, whether it's the human race or the comics community or whatever. And so you just sort of channel that into your work, and I do have a tendency to write about misfit loners, and I'm sure that has to do with as much as how I see myself as anything else.
Well, it's very clear that like Sebastian's trying to like fit in through all the fiction that he's ingesting,
and doing just a terrible job. His cat even immediately knows he's not human.
Well, the cat intuition, man. I've got two, so.
That's right. Yes, so again, it's kind of almost an homage to the Martian Manhunter and his bazillion superpowers that he gets every story. Sebastian Green has 17 senses that or maybe it's 14. There's a lot of them, and that he uses to assist him in investigations and sort of make him the best detective on his particular squad, the minor crimes unit. And one of those senses lets him talk to his cat, whose name is Cat, because Cat does not know what his name is.
It's like Dog and Road Warriors named Dog, so
Right.
It's all good.
Now this is running as a 5-issue mini initially, right? Is there plans for beyond the initial 5 run?
Yeah, we're my wonderful artist is doing the 4th issue now, and I still have to write the last one of this particular series. The first issue, which is cool, is that this is really the second appearance of Weird Detective. Originally, the first part of the story was serialized in Dark Horse Presents. And what's cool is that the first issue, plug, is double-sized in that it contains everything that was in Dark Horse Presents, and it has a whole another issue on top of it. And I believe that is still for the stupidly low price of
$3.99.
$3.99, whatever it is Dark Horse charges for single comics. No, I definitely would love to do more weird detective stories, and so far the early reaction has been very positive, even though the first issue hasn't come out yet. So, fingers crossed,
Now, what is it in particular? Like detective fiction is, I mean, it's been around since at least I would assume Hawthorne, and of course we've kind of touched on the whole Lovecraftian thing. What are some of your kind of more, I guess, pulpy or noir-y influences with the story?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I mean, if you want to get super pretentious about it, and of course I do, the first,
Right,
Oedipus
yeah.
Rex is sort of the first detective story. Is the king is trying to figure out who caused the plague in the city, and then it has the first M. Night Shyamalan twist ending, right? It's, oh crap, it was me. Spoilers.
I shouldn't have married my mom.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, I married my mom. This all makes perfect sense now. What?
I mean, I feel like so much shit goes south if you marry your mom. I can't speak from experience, but I'm pretty...
particularly genetically.
Yeah.
Antigone came out as normal as she did, really.
Exactly, it's true. And she didn't. Her end didn't go too well, but she made a good go of it while she tried, while she was around. I'm a huge Raymond Chandler fan. Loved him in high school. Love all the noir films. I did X-Men Noir over at Marvel, and that was super fun. Love Dashiell Hammett. Love Agatha Christie. I just started getting into Agatha Christie kind of randomly. I just sort of dismissed her as this writer my mom liked, but it turns out my mom has excellent taste.
Well, it's not all Miss Marple. There's some Hercule Poirot, and of course,
Sure.
and then there were none in there.
Yeah. I'm actually doing a pastiche of, and then my first novel is a pastiche of, and then there will none to a certain degree. So I've been reading that in many forms and really seriously enjoying it.
Have you seen all the adaptations? I personally recommend there's a one that takes place at a Swiss resort. I believe they filmed it in the 60s.
The 10 Little Indians.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah, I just caught they just had it on TCM last week. I think I only taped the last 45 minutes or something like that. But I've seen pretty much all the recent the BBC miniseries that had Charles Dance and Bern Gorman of Game of Thrones fame in it. That's just a straight up. It's the first kind of really straight up adaptation of the novel.
Oh, not the play?
No, it's not the play, because what Christie ended up doing was that the novel, which is like the top 7, best-selling novel of all time. It's like only beaten or book of all time. It's only knocked off by like Julia Child and the Bible. I mean, it's super dark and bleak, and that's sort of what made me sort of give Christie a look, because I thought I pictured Angela Lansbury or whatever, but it's very intense, and when they did it for the stage, I think she decided that the ending was a little too bleak, so she actually gave it a happy ending. And most of the adaptations, including, to my understanding, the 60s one, all have happy endings that, it's a little contrived. Not that the whole situation is a little. For those of you who don't know, And Then There Will None is about a bunch of people trapped on an island who are slowly being killed one by one, and they can't figure out who it is, and maybe it's one of them, maybe it's somebody else, and it's super good. But anyway, the BBC just did a version of it, and then I think Lifetime got the American rights to it, so it was on Lifetime. And it's a 2-part thing, and Charles Dance is in, Sam Neill's in it, Bert Gorman is in it. It's really terrific, so I highly recommend that. That's definitely my favorite that I've seen so far.
Yeah, I feel like Quentin Tarantino's Hateful Eight was basically 10 Little Indians minus 2.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. And even with the poisoning and everything else. Yeah, no, I really liked Hateful Eight. It's sort of a spin on that motif.
Yeah. I feel like it didn't get enough credit just because, I mean, you thought it was, or I'm looking at one of our guys, you thought it was a little too slow and self-indulgent?
Well, I mean, spoilers, but once Kurt Russell died, I was out. I was like, when Kurt Russell's gone, I don't care anymore. So, but yeah.
And the strange thing is I don't know how you get 8. Like, there's no way to add up all the people in that movie and get 8. Like, you can get 7, you get 9. Like, I don't understand where the title doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know. Cool. But, it definitely...
I believe Old B is considered an innocent.
And Channing Tatum isn't counted among the 8 either.
Yeah.
So it's technically,
right.
spoilers, it's technically 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't rhyme. That doesn't have an internal rhyme with hate. So
Yeah, exactly.
That doesn't quite work.
But yeah, to kind of go back to Weird Detective, so was Chandler, I mean, he kind of has a look like, he kind of looks like he's straight out of almost kind of like BBC's Sherlock to a degree.
You mean Green?
Yeah, Sebastian Green.
Yeah, Jim Gibbons, who was the original editor of this book at Dark Horse, because we were like, the great Francesco Francavilla did the cover, sort of visualized to a certain degree, at least the visual that he gave Green on the cover of Dark Horse Presents was sort of how people saw him, I think, for the first time. Guiu did this very clever thing where Sebastian, and I didn't tell him to do this, he just did this on his own, looks very much like H.P. Lovecraft himself. Which I thought was pretty cool. But we were kind of trying to get away from so I think naturally because it's the name's Weird Detective, Francavilla sort of visualized him in sort of a trench coat, and so whenever you're doing like the occult detective thing, you want to avoid some of the standard cliches, and you want to keep him from looking like hell, like a John Constantine, you know what I mean? Just some guy in a trench coat. So Jim Gibbons came up with the idea that he's so sort of into media that he goes through all these classic looks of famous TV detectives. So as you rightfully pointed out, at one point halfway through the issue, he starts dressing like Benedict Cumberbatch from Sherlock, which we couldn't necessarily. I think it's more fun if you sort of let people figure that out. And then I don't know if anyone picked up on this at all, but at the very end of the issue, and it's double size. So he goes through a couple costume changes in the 46 pages or whatever the first issue. At the very end, he's dressed like Kolchak the Night Stalker. Any Kolchak the Night Stalker fans here?
Oh,
so
yeah,
he's
man.
dressed in the pork pie hat and everything. And the best is when he breaks out the Sonny Crockett, the Miami Vice. When he's rocking the Miami Vice Don Johnson look, it's going to be
Sold.
Because again, like Sebastian Reed has no clue that any of his stuff is out of date. He just thinks humans just wear the same crap over and over again. So
I mean, if he can dress up like Elliot Gould in The Long Goodbye,
that's right.
That would be so. Just smoking all the time. I don't think there's a single scene in The Long Goodbye where Elliot Gould doesn't have a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, and it's
right.
the only time. No, that's not true at all. I was gonna say it's the only time I've ever wanted to smoke, but come on, I've smoked a lot.
It's funny. I need to see. I saw Long Goodbye in the movie theater in the revival, and I didn't really care for it. The Long Goodbye is my favorite Chandler novel, and The Long Goodbye is a lot of fun, but it really has nothing to do with the book, and I think it's Chandler's best book by far. The movie and the book are both great, but great in very different ways. I think I've got to give the Robert Altman version another chance.
Yeah, well, I think Altman was out to just deconstruct the entire genre, right? Like
sure.
Like his Chandler, his Marlowe is very much kind of a man out of time, even in like 1971.
Well, but the nerd rage in me is like, well, you should just come up with his own damn story then, and not taking,
well,
the Chandler book.
Yeah.
And made Philip Marlowe a Hydra agent. What was that all about, you guys? No, I'm kidding. I kid the Robert Altman.
The thing that like breaks my heart the most about that is that everybody was tweeting Ed Brubaker.
Oh, I know, man. He was taking so much shit. He's like, don't even tweet me happy things about Captain America. He's like, just stop tweeting me about Captain America. And then people were just like tweeting him their lunch order and stuff like that. And he's like, that's fine. Anything else besides superhero comics for right now.
Indeed. Yeah, having an Ellie Goop, particularly, assuming we do a sequel, I need more looks for him. About midway through, he gets a very distinctive look that I'm excited about. And so, so it's going to be fun to come up with more outfits. Yeah, and so, there, like the other there's something to do with sort of an alien character, like son of his partner has an infant son. And so one gag I haven't yet been able to work in there is that Sebastian Reed doesn't understand the difference between babies and adults. Like he just thinks, like he just sees all humans as the same. So he starts to talk to the baby like it's an adult human. And a lot of baby and cat humor in this book, along with horrible, horrible murders and evisceration and gore.
Yeah, there's probably like one of the hardest like deaths I've seen in a comic in some time. Like with mild spoilers for issue 1, but I don't know. You would think sitting on a toilet too long would give you like hemorrhoids, but there's something worse there.
I want to do for sitting on the toilet for what Jaws did for
there you
going
go.
to the ocean. That's my plan. That dude has a bad time on the John.
Yeah, his face is perfectly drawn for that one.
Yeah, Guiu is great at showing people being sucked backwards into a toilet.
Is that why you?
What's
Is that
the
why you
reference-
got him?
What's the reference?
Yeah, well, we put forth the portfolio call. The Guiu is a terrific artist. I believe he's in Spain. I met him doing a webcomic for Dark Horse called Project Black Sky. Not as my buddy Charles Soule always makes fun of me for. It's not Project Black Guy. That's something different. I don't know what it is. I don't think it exists. And then I actually had him do. He's just great with the pulp stuff. So I actually had him do this arc of Conan the Avenger when I was doing Conan, called the Slithering Shadow. And it's super appropriate because Robert E. Howard, creator of Conan, and H.P. Lovecraft are like best friends. And pen pals, and sort of influence each other's work quite a bit, and they were both huge racists also. So they had that, connecting thing.
Different time.
Different time. It was a different time, you guys. Let's not judge those pulp writers.
Yeah. So were you?
Both died young.
Yeah, that's true. So I mean, were you obviously? I guess were you a big fan of Conan growing up with the pulp stuff and the Schwarzenegger movies, or?
I wasn't. This sort of weird thing happened in my career where I made my bones doing Hercules, Incredible Hercules at Marvel, so I get offered all these big strapping dude bro projects.
Yeah.
And I'm not that guy at all. And I never read Conan as a kid just because I thought he was just some big dumb dude with a sword.
Yeah.
But then I actually read the stories, and I liked him quite a bit. And Howard is arguably a better writer than H.P. Lovecraft is. Lovecraft is very kind of indulgent and really needs to put down the thesaurus once in a while. Howard, other than the fact he uses the word fuse all the time, that word I still can't say without giggling, and kind of wrote the same 4 Conan stories over and over again, but he was being paid by the word, so different time. But I love the Conan stories. I think they're terrific. I mean, about a third of them are amazing, a third of them are terrible, and about a third of them are meh.
Yeah.
The lesser ones tend to be sort of retreads of the better stories.
I'm kind of the same way. I mean, growing up, I kind of felt the same way about Conan, that he was just this big, muscle-bound kind of idiot swinging a sword around. And then this is going to sound insane for diehard Conan fans out there. They're going to just immediately turn me off. This guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Kind of like what happened to Brian Wood.
Yeah, but I watched. For some reason I was I watched the Rock Hercules. I watched the.
All right, that's right. Rock did a Hercules movie.
Yeah. It was the lion on his head.
And he's supposed to be doing Big Trouble in Little China, the remake, another dude bro book I wrote.
Yeah.
So I don't know how.
Dude bro.
Sorry, I'm interrupting your story.
No, that's okay. It's not that great of a story. But and then the second movie I watched was the Masters of the Universe, and then I watched the Jason Momoa Conan. It's the Trinity of masculinity is what I called it. It just for some reason I decided to watch these 3 as you would say dude bro movies. But
spraying yourself with testosterone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Shout.
It's right. Just eating the biggest steak I could find and just
wearing lots of flannel.
Yeah. It was an awkward time. But I watching the Jason Momoa Conan was weird. It really, for some reason, out of all of the Conan that's been out there, that's what inspired me to start reading the books. And kind of like you're saying, once you start reading him, I was kind of really fascinated and really became a Conan fan.
Well, I will definitely say, it's funny, the guys who own Conan were like, don't watch the Momoa movie. It was on, I think, IFC at some point.
Yeah.
I watched 5 minutes of it. But I will go to bat saying that Conan the Barbarian, the Schwarzenegger movie, is a legit good movie.
Destroyer less so, but yeah.
And they're supposed to be making the third one, right?
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
It's the Unforgiven of Conan movies.
Sure.
We'll
It's King Conan, I imagine, right? Yeah. I mean, one of the best Conan stories is Hour of the Dragon. That would make a great Schwarzenegger movie within sort of an older Conan.
Yeah. And then speaking of The Rock, he also got cast as Doc Savage too. So
I never read Doc. I liked The Shadow when I was a kid, but I never read I never got into Doc Savage.
Yeah, Doc Savage is physique wise, again, dude bro, he's got it down perfectly. But Shane Black's, writing and directing, so I feel like that's out of all the pulp stuff, that's perfect for him to get thrown.
Yeah, without a doubt. But yeah, no, it's just been it's odd just how you go into this sort of creative career thinking you're one way, and then the market and the to a lesser degree the public, because the public sees what the publishers put forward to them. But the public sort of sees it a different way. So yeah, I never would have imagined I would be getting all these muscle dude properties. What ended up happening was, well, Brian Wood was doing Conan. They offered me a chance to do a miniseries with Ariel Olivetti, who's this great artist I did some Incredible Hercules with. Although ironically, Greg Pak actually did more with Ariel than I did. And so we adapted People of the Black Circle, which I think is hands down the best Conan story. It's the least racist, or at least one of the least racist, and it actually has the strongest, I think, female protagonist. And so we did that, and then I ended up getting the Conan job, and now Cullen Bunn is following me on Conan, which is super awesome. I love Cullen, and I love his work. And he is actually going to do People of the Black Circle in his run as part of sort of Dark Horse's chronology. And so, yeah, so Guiyu doing Conan was where sort of I was like, oh, this guy would be perfect for Weird Detective. And I've been talking about Chandler and Hammett, but really my big inspiration for Weird Detective are sort of cop, because those are private detectives, right? I mean, I'm interested in sort of doing a cop thing. Specifically, I think my main inspiration is The Shield, in the sense that Chiklis in The Shield was this kind of crooked, or at least cop willing to break the law to get justice, and so much of the series involved him not just trying to bust people, but trying to stay one step ahead of his superiors. And in Weird Detective, Sebastian Green's superiors seem to have figured out that there's something off about him, because before he was just this kind of schlubby dude, like the older cops on The Wire who throw themselves down the stairs so they can get out to being in a detail and they get a pension and stuff. And then all of a sudden, overnight, turns into Super Cop, and they actually have his partner spying on him. Sana is supposed to spy on Green, and so that's where a lot of the drama Weird Detective comes from, are these two very different people, Sana and Sebastian, kind of circling each other and trying to put one over on the other.
Kind of like the early episodes of the X-Files, where Scully is ostensibly assigned to keep an eye on Mulder.
Sure. Yes, yeah. At one point, my pitch for this was X-Files if Mulder was a Gray.
Oh.
Was another way to look at this series.
That's pretty cool.
Earlier it was called Gray, and it was much more of an overt kind of science fiction thing when it retained more of that Martian Manhunter DNA. But at some point, the idea of merging it with Lovecraft hit me, and I was like, oh, that's different.
I do have to ask, because I'm a huge Big Trouble in Little China fan, 30th anniversary this year, all that.
Right.
And you're the second writer on the Boom Studios Big Trouble in Little China comic. You brought Jack Burton into present day. I was just wondering, was that something that you had always kind of, when you were pitching it, that was your thing, or was that something that Eric Powell had?
That was something Eric did, although it was just in an outline. It ended up being super confusing because I had to start my run before he finished writing his run. In fact, I think I was a couple issues in before Eric even started writing his last issue, and that was in the outline that Jack was going to end up as it would be this roadside attraction at some gas station in Arizona in the middle of nowhere called the Ossified 80s Man, because the bad guys, because they put him into a magical coma, and so he woke up in 2016. So I actually started my run assuming that happened, but then I finally got the last issue of Eric's run, and none of that actually happened. So it just happens in my run. So I was like, well, all right. But yeah, no, that was something Eric said he was going to do, but then ended up not doing it. But so I ended up doing it. So that's why it's kind of a weird transition, because people are talking about Jack being in 2016 like we're all supposed to know this, But it was cool. It all worked out. It's fine.
Was it a lot of fun kind of working in that world? Because we only, as a frame of reference, there's only the one film, and I guess the Powell issues. But were you kind of given a lot of free license outside of Jack Burton?
Yeah, I mean, what's cool about the movie, which now I've watched like 12 times and never want to see again, sadly. I'm like, nope, I'm done. The last issue, which should be coming out shortly, probably at about around the time Weird Detective #1 is coming out, is a jam issue, Big Trouble in Little China #25 from Boom. It's a jam issue where every artist who's worked on the series in the past comes back to work on it, and we actually, Jack in the future, by which I mean 2016, our present, ends up his new partner in adventuring is Winona Chi, who is Wang and Miao Lin's daughter. And they end up, in the previous arc, getting zapped during the time of the Great Earthquake in San Francisco, and then they get pulled backwards to 1986, and so the last issue is a redo of the movie. Oh. With the time-tossed Winona and Jack sort of doing... It's almost like, if you've seen Rosencrantz and Guildenstern to Dead, it's almost like that, but with these two other characters sort of experiencing the actual Big Trouble in China movie, kind of from the wings.
Take Trouble over it, so...
Well, and what's funny is the movie has so many characters. It was written by the same guy who wrote The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai. W.D. Richter, I believe his name is. And so there's a bazillion characters. So I used like Eddie Lee and Margot Litzenberger and all these characters that from the movie that Eric just didn't put into his run. And I kind of left Egg Shen and Lao Pan off the table until sort of the second half of my run.
Well, that's cool.
So really it was a wealth of material that I never want to see again. It's too much.
Binging that constantly, like trying to get that voice down.
Well, yeah, you know, and it's just like because I had to redo the movie, I just had to watch every scene individually and rewind and get the dialogue down, and I was like, oh god, enough already. It's like I was the biggest Spider-Man fan in the world, but then I was doing Amazing and Web of Spider-Man at the same time. By the time it was all over, and I think Amazing was triple shipping or quadruple shipping at the time. By the time that was all over, I was like, I never want to think about Spider-Man again.
Please, God, tell me you still like the Hulk.
I do, but I never wrote the Hulk, really. I wrote Hercules. I wrote like 2 issues of the Hulk. But I do like the Hulk. That's more Greg's thing, though.
True. Well, you two always kind of have like a kind of a magic when you guys were working on the Hercules stuff. And then you worked with him on How to Make Comics Like a Pro, if I remember correctly.
Yep. It was super fun.
Was that just something you just kind of wanted to pay it forward to prospective writers and creators?
And make money while doing it. Don't make me sound too altruistic. Well, that was a weird thing. What happened was the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund does seminars in their New York City headquarters, and the assistant director, Alex Cox, is a buddy of mine, and asked me if I wanted to teach a seminar, and because I thought this would be an interesting way to do things, and because I'm lazy, I asked Greg Pak to do it with me, and we did a little seminar in collaboration. A editor from Random House happened to be one of our students in the seminar, and after the class, he said, "Hey, this was great. Have you ever thought about making this a book?" And we were like, "We do now." And a couple of years later, Make Comics the Pros came out. We were also, and Colleen Cooper, the great Eisner-winning artist, cartoonist of Bandette and May Others Find Funny Books, agreed to be our main illustrator, and so we actually like create a comic in the book as we tell you how to create your own comics. We actually create one of our own called Sword Maids that we actually show you from idea to script and pencils and coloring and marketing and printing and all that good stuff.
The whole process. The whole Megillah.
The whole Megillah, exactly.
Now, without giving the game away, what can you tease about the future of Weird Detective? Like beyond issue 1.
More spectacularly gory murders.
More toilets?
No, none, however, are toilet related.
Don't want to overdo it, I guess.
I just realized I should have done a urinal murder. That would even be even worse.
Urinal murder.
Being sucked to the urinal, I think, would be even more unpleasant.
That would be
like, that's like teeth, man.
Yeah.
That's no good.
Wait for that to pop up in a later issue and be like, yes,
that's right.
With that idea on our show.
You will be filled with pride. We sort of learn why Sana is behind, what the sort of mysterious, there's a mysterious force or entity at work sort of directing the NYPD's suspicion of Greeny. You learn a lot more about that. And Sana does end up kind of turning the tables on Green in kind of a cool way. So it's definitely, what I like about this is that the human and the alien are very much kind of on equal footing.
Yeah.
And as each one tries to put one over on the other. Again, I mean, just to sort of, for those of you who are fans of the Shield, I wouldn't make a one-to-one comparison, but sort of the inspiration was the relationship between CCH Pounder and Michael Chiklis on that show.
I mean, it's clear from like Jump Street that Sana can see right through Sebastian Green's tricks, even with all his 14 to 17 senses.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, one of the gags, his son is the only person in the NYPD who sees Sebastian as being weird. The rest of them just think he's this amazing detective. I mean, to a certain extent, this is also a bit of a satire on like Sherlock Holmes and The Mentalist and all of the, popular culture's kind of super cops who just kind of come out of nowhere and sort of say, aha, I can tell that you're a recovering alcoholic who's left-handed and plays polo, and you work as an accountant at a circus, and because of the peanut shells that are crunched under your polo cleats, or whatever.
Keep going.
I really want to do I've always wanted to do a parody of that where there's this amazing explanation, but then there's a totally alternate explanation to no, I was wearing polo cleats because I was I fell in mud at the the polo grounds, and these are the only extra shoes they could give me, and
I
work in a peanut factory, or whatever. It's completely alternate, and so Sherlock Holmes is constantly fucking up cases and never actually knows anything about what he's doing. So maybe I'll do that at some point, just because I think it's hilarious.
Just completely skewer A Study in Scarlet.
Exactly,
Now, Fred, something we ask everybody that comes on the show: what are you currently geeking out over? Apparently, no longer Big Trouble in Little China.
No. I'm currently geeking out over Urasawa, the great manga artist. I'm reading 20th Century Boys, which is sort of one of the big magnum opus. It's 22 books long, and I'm on book 3, so I have a lot to look forward to on that. I'm very much geeking out on Sci-Fi Network's show Z Nation, which is super fun for reasons that will become very obvious in the next couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Geeking out on Agatha Christie, but you already knew that.
I deduced that from all the
Yes, you did.
Right.
Because I told you.
From the exact phrase that you said, oh, I thought that she was just someone that my mother read.
Can you read my words? Hear my words?
Elementary, Christopher, elementary.
I'm about to start reading a lot of JFK books because I'm doing a book series with my awesome partner in crime, Ryan Dunleavy, called Action Presidents, that's coming out next year from HarperCollins. And
Jake is going to be very excited
Yeah.
for George Washington.
Well, yeah, Jake here on the show, his day job, he works at Mount Vernon.
That's right.
Oh, awesome.
Yep.
Oh, I love Mount Vernon. You guys do a great job over there.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. It's the super busy time. All the 8th graders are getting their last of the field trip, and so it's I never want to see an 8th grader ever again. But
Yeah.
it's
much like how Fred feels about Big Trouble in
Yeah,
Little
Yeah,
It's-
it was the Houston Comic Con last weekend, and they took us all to NASA at the Johnson Space Center, and that was wall-to-wall 8th graders.
Yeah.
So
I heard some crazy shit went down at the Space World comic book convention.
Oh yeah, it was pretty insane. The funny thing is the really ridiculous stuff never actually made it to press. And no, I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm not going to get involved in that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
But no, that was pretty nuts. I've never seen so many cops at a convention before.
Jeez.
I guess when you have a TV show about violent bikers and invite all of them to a convention center together and then renege on their tickets,
Ooh.
violence is a frequent outcome of that.
Different kind of testosterone showering everywhere.
Yeah.
My super secret deductive powers have led me to conclude somebody's going to get punched.
Well, we'll wait for the statute of limitations to pass for you to tell us all the other details that happened there.
No, it was insane. But I had a really good time. I should give a shout out to the good folks at Space Cadets, which is a terrific comic store in Houston that took care of us. Comics guests, me, Frank Barbieri, Matty Rosenberg, Tyler Boss, and we all had a terrific time. So the comic side of it was thumbs up. TV side of it, not my problem.
Sorry, Charlie Hunnam.
Nothing personal, Charlie.
Yeah. Well,
I loved you in Queer as Folk.
yeah, I liked him in Undeclared for all one season that existed.
Yeah, that show was so good.
But Fred, thanks again for coming on the show. If there's
My
anything
pleasure,
else,
guys.
is there anything else you want to plug while you're on?
I think I covered it. I guess I should say my new Valiant series with Francis Portella's Generation Zero. It's basically it's Archie meets the Authority that's coming out in August, and it will be super rad.
Sweet,
Excellent.
Love to see the Authority just destroy Riverdale.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, you pretty much figured it out already. Except Matt, Jindy, Authority are all 10th graders.
Which is only slightly worse
Yeah, at
than
least they're not 8th
I
graders.
like how disappointed you guys sounded when I said that.
Well, I mean, I'm a huge wrestling fan, so I was expecting Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. So.
And then, of course, Jake's dealing with 8th graders. He's like, 10th graders, not as bad.
Yeah, not as bad. Not as bad.
Mount
It's
Vernon
travel.
hopefully will remain standing
Yeah.
once June rolls around.
Yes,
Yeah.
the general would appreciate that.
yeah. Definitely.
But yeah, Fred, thanks again for coming on the show. Weird Detective #1 in comic shops everywhere and on Comixology Wednesday, June 15th. Fred, thanks again.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Well, that was a fun interview.
Indeed.
Quite so.
And it's cool, that the last issue of Big Trouble in Little China is Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah.
Right?
From a different perspective.
Yeah, kind of like the Back to the Future Part 2 treatment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool. And, of course, Weird Detective, it's wild that it started out as a Martian Manhunter pitch.
Oh, I know. That was like, I already read this book and dug it. Now I'm going to have to reread it, add it to my comic pull list, and
Dig it
definitely
again.
Yeah.
As if it was John Jones.
Yeah. And you can totally see it when you read it.
Absolutely. But yeah, so I think we all saw I guess we all saw the new Ninja Turtles movie.
Yeah. In two different groups, right?
Yeah, because you and Josh saw it first, like that Monday or whatever.
Yeah. It was what was it? Memorial Day. Yeah. And I had the day off. Josh had the day off. Josh lives like a block away from my movie theater, so I was like, "Hey, Josh, I'm going to see Turtles. You want to come see it with me?" And he was like, "Sure." And beat me there because it takes me half an hour to get there. But yeah, so we're sitting in there watching it. We're the only ones in the theater, except for a guy came in like 5 minutes before the movie started, left halfway through the movie. like I see him get up and walk out. And I'm like, okay, cool. He's going to the bathroom, whatever. And then like climax of the movie starts happening, and I'm like, guy still hasn't come. He walked out of the movie. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I'd never walk out on a movie.
There's only been one movie that I've walked out of, and that was that Johnny Depp vampire one, the
Dark Shadows.
Yes, Dark Shadows. But then again,
Understandable.
I snuck into that movie, so like
Our buddy Austin says that's one of the best Tim Burton movies of the last like 10 years, and I was like, okay, yeah, with the kind of like the smile where if my eyes get really wide and I just kind of smile and nod, that means I'm being polite, but I don't agree with you.
yeah. But
your brain is shutting down, so you don't have to continue hearing the conversation.
Yeah, but I mean, in all honesty, I liked it more than the last Turtles movie.
I disliked it less than the last Turtles movie.
I feel like there were parts of it that I genuinely enjoyed. They were few and far between, but it was. I was happy for WWE superstar Sheamus, who played Rocksteady.
At least he got paid.
Yeah,
my man.
Yeah, you know what? Made the jump to a quote unquote legitimate movie studio. I mean, well, not even quote unquote. It's a legitimate movie studio, a quote unquote legitimate movie, faster than John Cena. John Cena was in like 2 WWE Studios movies before he started getting actual.
The Marine.
Just wait till he
rounds.
becomes Shazam.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers
I've got the photoshops to prove that he can do it.
Yeah.
But as far as I'm aware, this is the first movie that Sheamus has been in, or at least like really been in, like, because I'm sure he's been like in like an extra or a small part in like a WWE studio movie.
The Marine 17, starring The Miz.
I think it's Marine 5 starts production now-ish.
Oh,
while he's Intercontinental Championship champ. What
Get
the fuck?
out of here.
Right? Come on, Miz.
I'll watch John Cena in anything though, man.
Yeah, no, he's great.
He's so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
But speaking of that,
that's
remember,
on our wrestling podcast.
Yeah.
That'll never happen.
Remember previous, because I'm now a proud owner of the WWE Network account. But
I was about to say, you own the entire network?
I do
Yes.
own,
Yeah, he's Vince McMahon.
That's right.
In disguise.
Yeah.
Peels
Did you
off
see
his
how
mustache.
jacked I am? But remember how like last episode I like fucking railed on X-Men Apocalypse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked X-Men Apocalypse more than Ninja Turtles.
X-Men Apocalypse is not my least favorite movie of the year anymore.
I would say that too. I liked X-Men Apocalypse more.
I wanted, I knew, and like I said, X-Men Apocalypse is like the disappointed son to me because like it could have been better.
I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
Like you could have hit at least a single. I knew the Turtles kid was going to come up and strike out without even looking. I was hoping at least
You're the one who talked me into it.
I know. I was hoping there'd at least be a foul tip.
or like get hit by the pitch.
Yeah.
Basically, I get
Take him for the team.
I get I think it's a Facebook message.
Yeah,
or
it was like right before I went to bed. I was like, oh, I fucking got it.
Yeah,
we
and I was
gotta.
just like, fine.
But this is the movie though where I'm like, you know what? We don't have to anymore because I ain't doing this shit.
Well, I
Because
remember we're
was-
sitting there in the lobby, and I was just like, it's not too late to watch The Money Monster with George Clooney.
I was like, oh no, should just watch Civil War again. But also, we went to Fairfax Corner, which is like, depending on if it's playing there, Town Center, or whatever. And the parking was atrocious. And like lately, it hasn't been that bad. Yeah. But I guess like they're getting ready to build. Like they got that, to their credit, they got that parking garage up pretty quick, but it's not open yet.
They have a garage there now.
Yeah, it's massive. But the problem is they closed certain sections.
A good chunk of it.
Yeah. Not only closed it, it's a dead end. So people would go down the park and they had to turn around. That's where Sam and I like saw each other, and I was just like, to quote Sam in an earlier podcast, I was like, dopes, because like you had to just turn around in a dead end with cars parked. It was awful, and like everyone is just driving around and around and around. And eventually, I parked basically the farthest point you could. There's plenty of parking spaces open, but I was like, I don't care. I just want to park and go. I almost called you and was like, let's not do this shit. And I almost wish we did, but again. I'm not. I wasn't expecting a masterpiece. I was expecting to like it more than the first one. I guess I like this one less because it's more fresh, and I remember not being not as upset as I was leaving this time around. But usually, we go and do like a cool down and go to IHOP or the Old Shabine or something, just have a beer or a coffee or whatever. And I remember Sam was like, "You wanna?" And I was like, "No, nah, I'm just gonna go to bed." I went home and I watched the scene from the original Ninja Turtles, Casey Jones, and went to bed. Although
I do while I was watching it, as soon as they introduced Stephen Amell's character and he's a cop, I was like, well, Jake's out.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
because I remember you were like, I just want them to get Casey Jones right, and his backstory is that like he becomes a vigilante just because he really likes like violent films or something like that.
Yeah, he just watches.
And like as soon as he comes on with the cop uniform, and like it's very clear that he's not just pretending to be a cop, but like all of them
in the
know
trailer,
him.
I thought that was like he's infiltrated the thing and he's whatever.
I mean,
but again, like
later,
and again, I knew that they weren't going to go for like the original Casey Jones. The storyline.
If he played it like Oliver Queen, like he does on Arrow, it would have been a fantastic.
And again,
translation.
I'm not blaming Stephen Amell because they gave
didn't
him
write the
nothing.
motherfucker.
They gave him nothing to work with. But I don't know. And then they finally make like New Age Shredder look kind of cool.
Shredder's the Shredder in this film is a big improvement.
I feel like the Shredder is almost the best part of this movie.
Yeah, and like
because of how much better he looks.
Michelangelo has some lines that like. In my head, I registered like those are funny lines.
He's not as Josh was saying this off mic, and I think I said as much in my review on the site. He's not as much a creeper this time around.
Yeah.
Now I can't remember because I only ever saw the first one once, but wasn't wasn't like one of the big annoying things in the first movie that that he wasn't Shredder, that like the what's his name, the white guy was Shredder, or am I misremembering that? Yeah,
you and your friends are dead.
Yeah.
It was kind of like an Iron Man 3 where I'm pretending to be this big, massive villain. Oh, by the way, I'm just a figurehead. This guy behind me is actually really the big bad.
Gotcha.
Fear him more.
Yeah. Okay, and the guy who was Shredder, who like is Shredder, he was Swiss Army Shredder in the...
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boo.
Yeah.
So yes, much improved.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, the Turtles aren't as grating this time around. Mm-hmm. They don't learn their martial arts from a Martial Arts for Dummies book. They don't, learn, I guess, English from rap songs and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
They're
not a bit like the Transformers in the new Michael Bay films.
You get to see Mikey fist bump a Bumblebee cosplay, which I guess is...
Oh, yeah, we get our official crossover of the Ninja Turtles and Transformers.
That's right. But
confirmed shared universe.
I can't wait for the Power Rangers to be in the next Turtles movie. Because that crossover happened.
I don't know, man. Like, I was saying off mic earlier, like...
off mic?
Yeah. Oh, God. Let's not do this one again.
Zach.
Yeah. It didn't give me a migraine this time around, and it didn't... even though it's 10 minutes longer, it feels shorter.
Yes, it was much better paced.
And to quote Jake Bozik's
Yes.
Quantum of Solace rule, like if a shitty movie feels shorter, then it's the better shitty movie.
Yeah, but again, well, that works for if it feels shorter. For you guys did it, and I'm happy because you had a better experience. For me, I'm still there. I'm still sitting in that fucking theater.
The movie's not over yet.
Yeah.
They just started building the Technodrome.
Christ, man, like it's. I'm gonna add a new rule to this.
An
If
addendum.
if you fucking forget the lesser movie, like I can't really remember the first one, fine. I'll import happy memories in that one because I and again, look, it's almost too easy to like pick on it because like it's not, this movie's not made for me.
Yeah.
I'm sure kids love it and that's all that matters if they're still digging the Turtles and go for it and all this stuff. But, whew, did not like this one at all.
What did we think about Krang, guys?
I liked him.
He was kind of weird.
Yeah.
It was weird.
But Krang is always kind of a loud, weird
I
character.
never was like Krang. Yeah, fuck yeah. So again, it wasn't a big thing for me, but some people like Angry Video Game Nerd, him and Mike did a thing, and they were like, "We've been waiting this for years," so that they were able. That's fine. I'm glad that they enjoyed it like that.
Yeah,
but
I'll take Bebop and Rocksteady over Toka and Razar.
Oh God, yes.
I like their look though.
I like Secret of the Ooze just fine.
I don't know, man. They
But
look
I
pretty
want-
fucking cool.
There
names are
was
sweet,
there
too.
was there was something about this Bebop and Rocksteady that I was like, cool, they're on the screen, and then I was like, but I hate them. Or like I didn't hate them, but like I was
My
like,
man.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I wanted to like them more, probably mostly because Seamus was one of the
Seamus?
voices, but he was
did,
Finnish, but he wasn't actually Finnish.
But it's still Irish.
Yeah. He was putting on no accent whatsoever, but they really wanted. I feel like the writer was like, this is a hilarious joke to make a pun on Finnish with two N's and Finnish with one N. You gotta say it, and you got a weird accent. Kids in America aren't gonna know the difference.
Between an Irish accent and a Finnish accent.
Yeah. So he's like. So one of his first lines, just to soldier in that he's got a funny accent and like to explain it away, is I'm Rocksteady and I'm Finnish, and that's because when I start something I finish it. And I was like, what?
I'm so glad. Like I said, I'm so glad you told me about that line before I saw it. 'Cause that's what I've been like. I'm out. I mean, he does the best he can with that line.
I mean,
but,
no
terrible.
shame on Seamus. I was trying to come up with another word, but that was the only one in my head, and I was like, pun it is. But no, no ill will towards him because he did a fine job, much like what we said with Stephen Amell.
Yeah.
Did a fine job with the crap pile that he was given.
Yeah, let him know next time you see him at the Bean that he did an all right
my
job.
God. Was he working? Oh, he was working on Thursday. God damn it.
Missed opportunity.
Yeah. Oh well, next time.
Next time, baby.
But
Terrible movie. So this,
I saw it for free, and I was like, yeah, I wasted a couple hours of my life, but it wasn't.
I mean, hey,
awful.
So
The food was good.
So I'm the only one that enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yes.
give us something. Give us something.
Yeah.
Um,
Tell me something good.
Tell me
I mean,
something good.
I was giggling throughout most of it. I found Mikey to be more funny. I still hate Ralph, though. I think that's just because I hate that really angsty, fuck everyone kind of attitude he always has.
But that's Alan Richardson
yeah, but just
That's right. Yeah.
from Blue Mountain State.
I was bummed Johnny Knoxville didn't come back. Although the guy is kind of doing a Johnny Knoxville impression for Leonardo because he voiced him in the first one.
Yeah.
I mean, just the attitude that he always has. He's always my least favorite turtle.
Oh, bummer. You know what I will say? Here's something I'll give some a positive thing. I thought that Raph has always been my favorite, just because the color red is my favorite color. Like that's like how the turtles usually work, right?
Kind of, yeah.
But
I mean,
thought
in the original covers, they're all wearing
that's true,
red.
all red. Yeah, just tell them by their weapons. I will say, my favorite in like the movie universe, I thought Leonardo. Like I really liked the way they did Leonardo. Like, and I also think he looked the best too. Like there wasn't like he looked kind of like a turtle, like like the original turtles.
yeah.
None of them really look like turtles, but like I like the characterization they did with Leonardo in this one, especially out of all the turtles. I thought that was an interesting thing they did. Interesting kind of arc. I guess
he looked
maybe I'm
like
giving
the
too much credit
less
to it.
destroyed.
Well, he looked closest to like, the 90s
Yeah.
Jim Henson puppet suits or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
I did like the I forget what they call it, but the dump truck. The turtle mobile.
Yeah.
Not quite the turtle van, 'cause
Yeah.
it's a truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, the turtle van that was in the end of the first movie. Now they got the turtle truck, which had the. I mean, it was
Doesn't
manhole
shoot
covers.
pizzas,
Yeah,
but
I
yeah.
was about to say it doesn't
Yeah.
shoot pizzas, but it does shoot
It
manhole
shoots
covers,
something a
which
hell
are
of a lot more effective.
kills everybody.
Oh, that would The,
and then
the
it had,
truck is not.
it had
a
the
complaint.
stupid nunchuck arms
yeah.
that I was like, okay, that's cute,
Yeah.
but it's impractical, and then it like
Breaks them off.
they break off, and I'm like, okay, they agreed with
Good.
me.
Yeah.
Good.
And another thing, I know it's to be expected in these films, but like the 15-minute, this is for all the 15-year-old boys watching this movie, Megan Fox scene, and it's like, you guys realize they could get so much better than this on the internet. Like, this is just... was it supposed to be like an appetizer for them when they get home?
What you're saying is not wrong,
Yeah.
but I mean, they just like, oh, she's in disguise, but you know what? Let's have her disguise again as a sexy schoolgirl, just because.
I did hear that Judith
Yeah.
Hogue was supposed to be in it, but they cut her part
They
out.
cut her part out.
Oh.
God, if they would have kept
I
her
met
in,
her.
man. Oh,
I met her at
that's
AwesomeCon
right.
last year. I got her autograph.
Oh.
But I thought,
If
like,
only,
Tyler
if
Perry
only.
did a great job in his role.
There was something so weird about the character choices that he was making,
Yeah,
and
he's being bold, man.
being in his corner, I have met people like that who are just like always like, no matter what they're talking about, they're always kind of laughing at it, and like it's annoying as fuck. Stop doing that.
Yeah, but I mean, he's supposed to be... Is this character from the comics or the cartoon show?
For sure from the cartoon.
Both.
Yeah, but
Okay,
I
so
don't know
he's
the comics
playing
well
a
enough, but yeah.
live-action variation of a cartoon character, so
They're
to have-
all playing live action
Yeah.
variations
Yeah,
of cartoon
Raph
characters.
is a live action.
God damn it!
But to have that over-exaggeration of that, I can understand
Well,
why
but
he does it.
I don't know the character that he's based on. I don't know if that's an accurate portrayal of it.
Yeah.
Just to counteract what
He's
you're
not that
saying.
much. He's more of a Lewis from Ghostbusters kind of character.
I would be totally down for that.
I would have loved
More-
if he
more
turned
bookish,
into The Fly. That would have been sweet.
The rumor is because he's contracted for another one.
Yeah.
If they do a third Ninja Turtles film, he becomes Fly Baxter Stockman.
Sweet.
Mm.
That would have
Um,
been a redeeming thing in this movie. I would have liked that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was.
And they went to Brazil.
I will say that I think the
Iguazu
action,
Falls,
the
too.
action sequence on the plane, I thought was kind of cool. I wish the movement and everything was so jumbled you couldn't really tell what was going on. But I liked,
everything seemed so rushed.
yeah,
in it.
I like seeing him throw down on the plane. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why it felt like it moved faster.
Yeah,
Oof.
except for the sexy Megan Fox scene, which felt like it took an hour,
Yeah. Yeah. God
and it
damn.
wasn't that sexy.
Yeah, and it again just fucking shoehorned in. And it's
Check
just
out
like,
check out the. I can't remember the guy's name, which is terrible, but it's easy to find on YouTube. There's a fan film about Casey Jones that's really freaking cool. If you're like, after you see this movie, you're like, I want to see Casey Jones. Check it out. It's really
I mean,
cool.
he only wears the mask for like.
I mean, yeah,
2 minutes,
this
and that was-
this is like out of the comic books. The guy they have Raph in it, and like in a turtle suit, looks really good. Of course, he has a trench coat because it's cheaper that way. But like, really cool, well done, fan made Casey Jones film. If you're interested in reading more Casey Jones or seeing more Casey Jones.
yeah. But well, I saw the B-52s yesterday.
Ooh,
We had our little Fairfax Fair, celebrate Fairfax.
was it well attended?
Yeah, I mean it's always huge, always a lot of people. I got to eat funnel cake, which is always a highlight.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, the B-52s are so like just delightfully weird.
Yeah.
Apparently their Rock Lobster was a big influence for Lennon to come out of retirement.
Ah,
Like he was like, oh,
that and Coming Up by Paul McCartney.
Yeah. Which are like the two weirdest songs that
Yeah.
it's like, why did this?
I love Coming Up, and like out of all the McCartney songs, that was the one, I guess.
Yeah, it
Lennon-
wasn't going to be silly love songs.
Yeah, it wasn't gonna be Temporary Secretary either.
Yeah. So I mean, you could tell that the crowd were really, at least the majority of the crowd. There was this one dude that was going around with giant lobster claws on his,
Of course.
big like fucking foam lobster claws.
Yeah.
But Love Shack, Rock Lobster. I keep citing Planet Claire, but apparently I'm the only one that knows that one. And
Rome.
Rome's my favorite.
Oh, it's the best.
But I mean, they're just so wacky. I mean, I think you listen to Love Shack, and it's always about like it's always Fred Schneider.
Yeah, that's the
jukebox money.
yeah, like that, which works for them. But like, we were talking about like turning every other song into a B-52 song.
Yeah, or at least
Fred,
one sung by Fred
Schneider.
not the other members of the band, not Kate or
because like that's like it's beautiful angelic voices as opposed to what's a song we could do.
Let me try to do like a virgin.
Okay.
Like a virgin, touched for the very first time.
Classic. How about let's see.
Let me do Metallica.
Okay.
Give me fuel, give me fire, give me all that I desire. Boom.
Boom.
It's a very kind of like Midwestern, like he is like the head concierge of a Super 8 in like Des Moines.
Yeah.
Mother, tell your children not to walk my way.
Life it seems to fade away, drifting further every day. Fade to Black, of course, being a pick me up.
It almost kind of like he almost like gets excited as he does it, so it like raises.
Yeah.
Like, that's me in the corner. That's me in the spotlight, losing my religion.
Yeah, and he gets excited right there at the end too. So it kind of comes back up.
Exactly. Yeah. That's cool. Break on through to the other side. Break on through. Break on through. Classic.
What would be a good when the levee starts to break?
I hurt myself today.
In the mirror. Oh Christ!
Welcome to the Hotel California.
Here we go.
Such a lovely place.
Such a lovely place.
An unforeseen future nestled somewhere in time. Unsuspecting victims, no warnings, no sides.
I love that you keep adding the clap.
You gotta have the claps. Any Slayer song, you gotta have it in there.
Yeah.
It's a staple of Slayer.
It is a staple of Slayer, especially South of Heaven.
Mm-hmm. Daydream believer and a homecoming queen.
Cheer up, Sleepy Jean. Oh, what can it mean?
It's like this very kind of like staccato, like almost. Yeah, it's
Saturday night's all right for fighting.
Love lies bleeding in my hands.
Someone saved my life tonight. Someone saved.
So goodbye, Yellow Brick Road.
I see you driving round town with the girl I love, and I'm like, fuck you!
And fuck you too.
Coming out of my cage, and I've been doing just fine. Gotta be down because I want it all.
And I chimed in with the haven't you people ever heard of? Closing the goddamn door.
Closing the goddamn door.
Yeah, my favorite B-52 song doesn't actually have Fred Schneider on it.
It's why it's my favorite.
Rome. Yeah, Rome if you want to, all around the world.
The clap comes from Rome. That's where the clap comes from.
It's got the very distinct kind of tempo.
Yeah.
That's the secret weapon in pop music.
Hand claps. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
It really is.
But yeah, that one doesn't have Fred Schneider, and maybe it's...
Which is the secret weapon to a good B-52 song.
Too bad he's on everything else. Yeah, but you could tell that they only knew like those big 3 singles, because he would doing stage work, he'd be like, guess we're going to Idaho, and nobody knows that there's a fucking B-52 song called Idaho, and the crowd doesn't react, and he's just like, okay.
It's like
just starts
it's like that
harder.
It's like that one like town hall meeting that Jeb Bush had a couple months ago, and he's really excited about some part of his campaign, and like he pauses for applause, and like if you're watching the video, you can see like one woman behind him just kind of like trying to clap, but like no one else is, and he just was like, he so defeated. He like stops talking, silence, and he's like, please clap. And then like
so like any Jay Leno monologue.
Hey, that's not that bad. I'm pretty funny, I think. He
always has to like explain his joke again after he tells it.
I think I might have mentioned this before. My favorite fucking Jay Leno thing is that is Gilbert Gottfried always talks about it, where when he interviews somebody, he's just waiting to get to like the setup for something, and so someone will be like, it'll be out of nowhere. Like he'll be interviewing, like say Sam, celebrity comes on the show, something just wrote the greatest fucking Nightwing run of all time, right? And he goes, and so, but it has nothing to do with the interview. He'll be like, Sam, I heard you got trapped in an elevator with a flying monkey. Is this true? I heard about this somewhere. Is that true? And then he also doesn't listen. I love Jay Leno actually, but like he doesn't listen. So someone will be like, that was the time after my father hit me when I was 12 years old, and I realized that I wanted to become an actor to escape from myself. He's like, I heard you don't like mustard. Is this true? Just like totally out of the fucking blue.
Yeah, it's like the big emotional stuff. But yeah,
now on to headline. Jaywalking.
Kevin Eubank from Tonight Show Band. Yeah, there we go. Pretty good. No.
Man,
I retired, but I'm coming back.
Check out Jay Leno's Garage season 2 coming on whatever channel it's on. I find it interesting because he did do a cool thing about the Black Beauty. Like he does like some. The guy fucking knows his shit about cars. So
yeah, he's got one of the, and his private garage is completely self sufficient. It's solar powered.
This is also really weird because we talk about Jay Leno on the first episode we ever did.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Here we are 100 episodes later.
Kid, come back for a third
full circle.
It's like it's pretty funny.
This kind of sounds like Sylvester from the Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
Thuffer and Thuckertash. But you guys got anything to add? Any other songs you want to Fred Schneider out?
Hey, Chris, I heard your name is Charles now. That's true.
Well, yeah, it was actually a really traumatizing experience that I had at Awesome Con where Adam West misspelled my name on my laser.
I hear you aren't the biggest fan of the end of Back to the Future Part 3. Is this true?
Something about Pepsi and Coke too. You like Pepsi more or Coke more? I can't remember. It kind of tastes the same to me, but who knows? Yeah.
What's your favorite Slurpee flavor?
Is it cherry?
Is it Coke? Is it the Fanta?
You like to mix the pina colada and the Coke together, so it kind of tastes like a rum and Coke. That's actually what I do. Yeah.
I'll usually get the blue raspberry. It's a favorite of mine.
What is this? The water?
I got the Mountain Dew one once, and it just fucked me up. Like it's so sugary.
In a good way. Oh.
When we were playing, I think that's back when we were doing Lego Batman 3, or either that or we were watching the Adam West Batman.
Okay.
Charles, eventually. But yeah, don't do the Mountain Dew one. It's terrible. There was a guy at work today, a kid.
You can't put a lid on your life.
Don't put a lid on your Slurpee. But a guy came in.
Don't you dare sully that fake Grant Morrison quote
with a fake Jay Leno.
Yeah, fake Jay Leno. Fuck you guys. Nothing I think about that.
Listen here.
Don't challenge me.
They're coming back. Open the fucking Pandora gate.
They're
coming.
You dare.
Pandora gate?
Yeah, Pandora's
Pandora
gate.
gets a gate now?
It's that big.
Yeah,
we gotta.
Now it's not just a box anymore. It's
Or a
a
radio
gated
station.
community.
It's like open them up, let them out. See what happens.
I'm
It's
just
the size
here
of my garage.
to ask questions.
Oh man, Josh, you got anything to add before we sign off?
Any impressions?
No.
Any songs?
Do you want me to B-52 another song? I can do another Eagles song if you like. I already did Hotel California.
Please no, Sam.
Life in the fast lane surely make you lose your mind.
'Cause I'm already gone.
That's true.
You know what? Fuck it. I'm going to start drinking during the commentary tonight.
I can't drive 55. I know that wasn't the Eagles, but
It's not even Van Halen. Sammy Hagar alone.
I brought my pencil.
Good for you.
I heard you meant. I was laughing so hard I didn't even do the voice.
But yeah, thanks to Fred Van Lente for coming on the show.
Yeah,
Weird
that was a lot of
Detective.
fun.
Weird Detective is in stores now.
Thanks for coming on this show that's completely broken down into hysteria.
They're my favorite
Yeah.
ones, man.
Yeah, chorus, man. As soon as we invoke Fred Schneider, it just goes into fucking chaos. But yeah, thanks again for coming on the show. Thanks. Weird Detective in stores now and on Comixology. Thanks for being a cool hang at Awesome Con and all that jazz. Yeah. So check it out. This has been another installment Catching Up. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jay.
I'm Josh.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Good night, Eric Bana.
This has been another Geek Out production. If you enjoyed what you heard, hey, we've got a new commentary every Monday. We've got a special episode every Friday. Of course, there's the usual catching up show every Wednesday. And you get book club episodes just about every Tuesday these days. Thanks for listening.